This is often how I feel after doing one of those long, detailed configuration videos. Well, I don't feel like that today because I've been testing out FlightSimBuilder's GNS 530, and for Microsoft Flight Simulator users, it auto-configures. There's no configurations to be done, and for you Xplane pilots out there, it's a one-off config. Welcome back to the Sim Hangar. My name's Mark. Thanks very much for watching, and let's get started. FlightSimBuilder's focus is on producing high-quality physical sim-based replicas of your Garmin avionics, and in particular the GNS 530, 430 and the G1000 panel, aimed at the prosumer and functional as both standalone devices as well as part of a cockpit build. Price-wise, they're very competitive when compared to companies such as RealSimGear, with FlightSimBuilder prices offering a 25 to 40% less expensive option. They do offer other products, but we're not going to focus on those today. Links to the FlightSimBuilder website in the notes below this video. In this video, we're going to be concentrating on the GNS 530 and 430 option. For Microsoft Flight Simulator, the GNS 530 operates equally as a GNS 430. One unit, two different options. And this is what you get. Comes with three cables. Firstly, a power cable. The unit requires its own power source. My only concern here is the cable's only 1 meter long. That'll be too short for many. I've mentioned this to FlightSimBuilder and they advise they are looking for a longer cable. 3 meters would be ideal. The GNS 530 unit is treated as a separate monitor for your sim and comes with a HDMI to HDMI cable. If you don't have a spare HDMI slot on your graphics card, an HDMI to DP connector is available. And the third cable is a USB for the transfer of data. So you have power supply, display supply, and data supply cables. The unit itself has a quality feel. It's made of a rigid plastic, and the fascia represents the real unit on a one-to-one basis. All cables connect conveniently to the back, power, HDMI, and USB. My overall impression was one of quality, and I particularly like the buttons and dials. There are rubber or silicon for the buttons and a hardened plastic for the dials. Twin rotaries with the push action. The unit also comes with a simple stand, looks 3D printed, that you can use if you don't want to mount the unit itself. In my tests, this was my setup. I mounted the GNS unit on top of my Bravo throttle quadrant, used blue tack to hold it in place, and it worked fine. FlightSimBuilders also offer a mounting bracket compatible with honeycomb peripherals. To set up your system, you need to download some software. On their website, go to Instructions and then select the particular product that you have, in our case the GNS 530. Here you'll find general details on the functioning of the unit itself. In the case of Microsoft Flight Simulator, there's FlightSimBuilder Launcher, a download file that you require. If you're using Xplane, well then you need to manually configure it. And what actions are assigned to various buttons are clearly shown so you can map it yourself. And obviously you'd only need to do this once. In today's video we're focusing on Microsoft Flight Simulator, so we'll download the FlightSimBuilder Launcher. Click on the link provided and it will give you the opportunity to download the software. Download it, install is straightforward, and you'll get this icon on your desktop. I recommend you also pin it to your taskbar. When you run the program, this is what you'll get, and the only thing you need to do is select your version of Microsoft Flight Simulator, Store or Steam version. In my case, it's Store. You do need to run this program every time you use the GNS 530 and leave it running in the background. It's next to no overhead. What it is a WASM plugin that interrogates Microsoft Flight Simulator and automatically configures it depending on your choice for the 430 or 530. That's it, you're done. Nothing more is required. Hit Start Microsoft Flight Simulator and you're away. FlightSimBuilders also recommend that you download from the marketplace the free Working Title Simulations mod to the GNS 430-530 unit. It improves the functionality. I mentioned that this unit is treated as a separate monitor. Here I've gone into NVIDIA Control Panel. I have my LG 2K monitor and my BenQ 4K monitor connected, and the GNS unit shows up as Kingston Technology 640 by 480. This app lets you move your monitors. You need to know where your monitor number 3 or Kingston monitor is. The reason why will become clear a little later on. One piece of advice I can give you: although you can change the resolution of the device, I strongly recommend leave it at default to get best display. We'll start by testing out the GNS 530. Now I'll be doing this test at a new airport release from Burning Blue Designs, Katama Airpark. This is an absolutely wonderful piece of scenery, priced at just under £11, and complements Martha's Vineyard Airport, which was released earlier. This is only a stone's throw away. Also based at Martha's Vineyard, and a free download from Burning Blue Designs, is Tradewind Airfield. And once again, that's beautifully done. Burning Blue, you have excelled on this occasion. The attention to detail is, well, it's just stunning. Now I'll leave links to Burning Blue Designs in the notes below. Katama Airpark and Tradewind's Airstrip, both grass fields. One payware, one free. Go take a look. You won't be disappointed. For my test today, I've selected the Cessna 172 with analog gauges, and it features the GNS 530 and 430. 530's at the top. First of all, we want to pop this display out. Use the right Alt or Alt Grand and click on the display. The pop-out appears, and simply drag it to your GNS monitor. Remember I said you needed to know where it was in relation to your main screen? Now you know why. Maximize, and then, once positioned, hit Alt-Enter while still on the GNS screen to make it full screen. And the top and bottom tabs are no longer visible. Perfect. We now have the GNS 530 unit displaying on our unit. Let's now zoom into the cockpit so we can get a better comparison. And I can tell you now, it simply just works. And for me, there was no perceptible delay between what was happening in sim in the cockpit and happening on the device. Using the left-hand rotary, I'm now changing the COM channel, inner for the whole number and outer for the decimals, and I can swap channels just as I can within the sim. I've now pressed the top rotary switch in, switch to nav, and I can change my nav frequencies. Martha's Vineyard is 114.5, that'll do. Make that the active channel. All working good, and we can see it's picked it up, 4.5 nautical miles away. I'll now press the CDI button to swap between GPS and nav. That's working fine. You can switch the display off on the unit at any time by holding down the COM frequency change button. Hold it down for about 3 seconds and it'll shut down. Note it's only closing the display. Hold it down again for 3 to 5 seconds and the display will reappear. A very handy feature. There are a number of specialized functions allocated to various buttons. The C button, for example, will change the speed and register of input. The .V button allows you to alternate between GNS 530 and 430. Once again, you hold the buttons down for about 3 to 4 seconds. There is an important limitation to note, however, when swapping between the GNS 530 and 430. They're not hot swappable. That means during a flight you can't alternate between the 530 and 430. It's one or the other. And for this to function correctly, here's an important point. As the WASM plugin maps all the configuration for you, you must select it before you run FlightSimBuilder Launcher and Microsoft Flight Simulator. There is a workaround for this, I believe, via their Discord, but it's not officially supported. To put it in a nutshell, this unit can do anything that the GNS 530 can do in sim. I've been using this unit for about a week and a half now, perhaps 10 days, and I haven't discovered anything I can do in sim that I can't do with the unit itself. And when I initially connected it, to be honest, I expected some form of input delay, but there absolutely isn't any that I came across. It seems to be instantaneous. This video is not an instruction on how to use the GNS 530, so I won't be running through all the different features and options. I'll assume you're familiar with those. But what we can do, for example, is enter a flight plan. I'm currently at Katama Airport. Let me select that. And I think the code is Bravo 2, 1B2. So using the right rotary, let me dial that in. There's the 1. Outer knob to select, inner or larger knob to move to the next input. There we are, Katama. Hit enter. Now I'm going to put in Martha Vineyard VOR, which I think is Mike Victor Yankee. So we'll follow exactly the same process. As Victor is at the end of the alphabet, I think I'll turn the knob the other way. It'll be quicker. Just get past the numbers first and looking for Victor. There we are. And now Yankee. And if I've got the code right, it will indicate it's a VOR for Martha's Vineyard, which it does. Hit enter, that's entered. And finally now, let's put in trade winds. That's the free download from Burning Blue Designs. And the code I think is Mike44. No it's not, it's Mike Alpha 44. It's only a small strip, but it should be in the database. Is it Mike Alpha and now 44? Let's see what it comes up with. Trade wind, that's the perfect one. And that's a very basic and simple flight plan entered. The response to inputs from the rotary dials were just absolutely perfect. I use the ring buttons to zoom in and out, and there we have it. Katama to Martha's Vineyard VOR, and then on to trade winds. And we can see what's represented on the GNS 530 unit in SIM is replicated exactly on our FlightSimBuilder device. Here's another example where I've changed the destination to Martha's Vineyard, and I want to set up an approach for ILS runway 24. As this functionality is supported in SIM, you can do it on the FlightSimBuilder GNS 530. And it's so much quicker and easier than using your mouse. And you don't have to zoom in so you can see everything. Simple, straightforward. When jumping into the control options menu, this is the only way that I'm aware of that you can see whether it's operating as a GNS 530 or as a 430. No configurations available and no sensitivities can be adjusted. The WASM plugin has done it all for you. After exiting the SIM and pressing the .v button, I'm now in the FlightSimBuilder 430 mode. This is one of the areas, in my opinion, that the developer needs to improve upon. I'd like an easier way to identify what mode I last left the unit in, ideally on the FlightSimBuilder launcher. Just prevents the hassle of launching into the SIM expecting to use the GNS 530 only to find it's in 430 mode, and you're going to have to exit the SIM in order to change it. We're back in the SIM and now I've changed it to the GNS 430. I'm not going to run through this in detail, everything works exactly as it did before. The unit is equally responsive, and I'm able to do everything that the 430 does in SIM on the device itself. The developer says that the 430 mode is experimental, but to be honest I couldn't find fault with it. Everything seemed to be mapped 100% correct. I know I said this before, but it just simply worked. No configuration hassles, and so compliments to FlightSimBuilder on this. I wish more peripherals offered this type of functionality and ease of use. Some of you may be more interested in the G1000, as opposed to the units I've demoed today. Well, I haven't got my hands on a G1000. Well, not yet anyway. But here's a short extract from the developer's YouTube channel. Once again, links in the notes below to give you an idea of what it looks like and some functionality.
Racer 83 Uniform Montgomery clearance clear to the Palomar Airport. Support after departure, flighting 280. Expect radar vectors Oceanside VOR. That's Oscar Charlie November, then direct. Maintain 3000, expect 4000, 5 minutes after departure.
And we don't know the runway yet. We're gonna get the weather. Alright, so we have it set up. Radar vectors Oceanside 3000. So altitude we're gonna set 3000. 4010 minutes, 119.6. So let's go back to our waypoint info.
One pertinent question to ask is, what is the FPS hit by having another monitor connected on your SIM? And this is particularly relevant as Microsoft Flight Simulator is predominantly a single-threaded application. My test was done with one monitor running in 1440p or 2K, And the frame counter on the left hand side has the GNS 530 attached, and the frame counter on the right hand side has no GNS 530 attached and FlightSimBuilder launcher not running. Both flights were done in TAA mode with global rendering set at Ultra. My flight was from Katama over the VOR at Martha's Vineyard and on to Trade Wind, and the hit was approximately 10 FPS or something between 10 and 15% overall. I must admit I was expecting a bigger hit, but I am running a 10900K with a 1490 graphics card. That needs to be borne in mind. And so on to my final thoughts and opinions. Overall, I've got to say, very positive. The price point dictates this is not for the casual simmer, but more for the pro simmer, and clearly is not aimed at VR enthusiasts. And on that point I have something interesting coming up in the near future. At first I was a little skeptical about the price point until I saw the quality of the unit and the ease of use. My view has honestly changed. It's value for money, and this is something I'm going to be using on a more regular basis when flying in 2D. Ease of access, immersion, and my piloting skills will all improve considerably using the GNS 530-430. I can only imagine what the G1000 panel will bring. I would love to see that we're able to hot swap between the 530 and 430 within one flight. And that power cable, well, it definitely needs a longer lead. I'd like to see some expanded instructions or frequently asked questions on their website. But other than that, only positives to say. And last but not least, to Burning Blue Designs for these two airports. Thank you. These are well worth the money invested and enhance my virtual world. Thank you as always for joining me today. I hope you found it useful and informative. Stay well, look after yourselves. I'll see you again on the next one. And bye for now.